As we all know, the ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas is incredibly fragile. And that is the reason why some of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's political opponents, like Yair Lapid, are essentially clowning the current Knesset and Benjamin Netanyahu himself for essentially needing to be babysat and dictated by the American government. See, here in the United States, people who are critics of Israel, myself included, like to think of our government as essentially controlled by the foreign government of Israel. But right now, you see some people, some Israeli opposition leaders, essentially argue the opposite, and I find that so funny. So ask yourselves, what do you think is true? Now, the ceasefire has led to various White House officials and those in Trump's periphery essentially visiting Israel to babysit the Israelis and make sure that the ceasefire remains in place. That includes Trump himself, Vice President JD Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Jared Kushner, the son-in-law to the president and an unofficial advisor, I guess, and Steve Witkoff, the special envoy to the Middle East. Israeli media have joked that the high-level visits are a case of babysitting near constant US supervision of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Netanyahu himself, though, is insisting that no. I am in control of Israel, not the United States. In fact, on Tuesday, he stated, 1 week they say that Israel controls the United States. A week later, they say the United States controls Israel. This is hogwash. And Vance said that he visited Israel essentially just to, show his ally, the United States ally, his support. No monitoring necessary. He's not monitoring a toddler, just a war criminal. But we fund that war criminal. So what does that make us? Cenk, back to you.
Yeah. So look, it is interesting that apparently our own US officials think that Netanyahu is so psychotic that if they're not like physically next to him, restraining him from attacking his neighbors and killing more innocent civilians and grabbing more land, that he'll do it. Like the minute the Americans leave, he's like, yes, kill more Palestinians, right? And take more land and do all the aggressive war crimes that he's been doing. And apparently it's not just us who thinks that, it's the US government that thinks that. But at the same time, the US government goes, oh, don't get us wrong. We're gonna keep taking billions of dollars from US taxpayers and funding that psycho. That guy who's so mentally unstable, we have to have a babysitter sitting next to him so that he doesn't do further genocides, which, he's done enough genocide, we finance that genocide, but we want him to just a smidge less. And by the way, one of his babysitters is Jared Kushner, who's like demonic. And he's the guy who's like, oh yeah, we're gonna build condos all over the graves of Palestinian children and grandmothers, etc. And we're gonna make a killing from having murdered all those Palestinians. So it's not like Jared Kushner has a soul, right? Again, I'm not religious. These are just symbolic, metaphorical words, right?
He wants to protect his investment, Cenk. Let's keep it real.
Yeah, but
that's what he wants to do. That's his intent here. It's not like he's like, oh, we really want peace and we have to be there to be Benjamin Netanyahu's babysitter, because if we don't, then more Palestinians are going to get killed. They don't care about the Palestinians. They care about their investment.
No, but that's exactly my point. That even this like demonic figure of Jared Kushner, like almost like a comic book villain, he is trying to restrain Netanyahu. Like that's how insane Netanyahu is. Because what Kushner is saying is basically, reading between the tea leaves of these interactions, is that Kushner's saying, we got it, man, Bibi, we got half of Gaza. The American press is a bunch of morons who'll just report that we were doing self-defense. We're gonna build those condos, we're all gonna make a ton of money. Thank God you killed those Palestinians. So cut it out with the West Bank, you're gonna get caught. Let's not get caught. And Bibi's like, no, take more, right? So like that's the dynamic here.
Yeah, totally.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.